The year is 1966. A 15-year-old boy stands on a Disney film set, and Walt Disney himself watches from the sidelines. He turns to someone nearby and says this kid is going to have a great future in acting. That boy was Kurt Russell. And what happened next would take 60 years to fully make sense. Kurt Russell was born in Springfield, Massachusetts, in 1951. His father was a character actor, so performance was already in the air at home. By age 11, Kurt had already appeared in an Elvis Presley movie. By 15, he had a 10-year contract with the Walt Disney Company, becoming the studio's primary teen star. Not many kids get that kind of backing. Fewer still figure out what to do with it. But here's the thing, the Disney years almost weren't his whole story. Because Kurt Russell had another life running in parallel, one that nearly pulled him away from Hollywood entirely. He was a real baseball player. Not a celebrity hobby, a genuine athlete who made it into the California Angels minor league system, reaching Double-A level in 1973. That summer, he tore his rotator cuff executing a double play. Career over. And in that moment of loss, something shifted. The question that had been hovering over his life for years simply disappeared. Acting was now the only path. And he was about to meet the man who would change everything. Director John Carpenter cast Russell in a 1979 television film called Elvis. It required physical transformation and emotional depth that no Disney comedy had ever demanded of him. The performance earned Russell an Emmy nomination, and suddenly the industry was looking at him differently. But what came next? Nobody saw it coming. Escape from New York landed in 1981. Russell played Snake Plissken, a stoic, eye-patched antihero in a dystopian Manhattan, and the character felt like nothing he had ever done before. The film wasn't a mainstream blockbuster. It built its audience slowly, through genuine admiration rather than opening weekend hype. And then, the very next year, Russell and Carpenter went further. The Thing arrived in 1982. A horror film set in Antarctica. Paranoia, isolation, an alien that could look like anyone. It bombed at the box office, arriving the same summer as E.T. But here's where it gets interesting. The Thing didn't stay buried. Over the following decades it climbed, and climbed, until it earned recognition as one of the defining science fiction horror films ever made. Russell held that picture together with his bare hands. And he was only getting started. Big Trouble in Little China in 1986. Tombstone in 1993. Stargate in 1994. Each film in a different genre, each one landing differently, but all of them carrying that same quality, a man who showed up fully and made you believe him completely. By the mid-90s, Kurt Russell was one of the most reliable names in Hollywood. And yet, the whole time, he was doing something the industry insisted would destroy him. He had left Los Angeles. He had built a life in Old Snowmass, Colorado, on a ranch in the mountains. And people told him, directly, loudly, repeatedly, that this choice was professional suicide. No major star was doing this. Visibility meant presence. Presence meant Los Angeles. The industry didn't accommodate actors who put mountain living ahead of studio proximity. They told him plainly, leave Los Angeles, and you leave the career. So what did he do? He left Los Angeles. Not the career. Just the city. And the difference between those two things turned out to be the most important distinction of his entire life. At a panel event in May 2026, Russell sat down with People magazine and finally spoke openly about what that decision had meant. He talked about the mountains, the ranching life, the sense of waking up somewhere he had actually chosen. He said something that cut straight to the core of his philosophy. Old Snowmass is full of people who live there because they want to. He couldn't say the same about Los Angeles. That simple distinction, choosing a place versus being required by a career to stay in one, is how Russell has thought about his own life for 40 years. But here's what makes the story remarkable. The work didn't stop. Backdraft. Tombstone. Stargate. Breakdown. Miracle. Death Proof. The Hateful Eight. Guardians of the Galaxy. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The Fast and Furious franchise. Every single one of those projects came from a man living on a Colorado ranch, not from someone embedded in the Los Angeles social ecosystem the industry called mandatory. The warnings were wrong. Not a little wrong. Completely wrong. And Russell knew it all along. Now it's 2026. Russell is 75. His new Paramount Plus series, The Madison, is a neo-Western drama created by Taylor Sheridan, following a family that relocates to the Montana wilderness after a devastating loss. Russell plays the patriarch. Michelle Pfeiffer plays his wife. And reviewers noticed immediately, these are two people who don't need to perform chemistry. They just have it. Season 2 was filmed back-to-back with Season 1. Season 3 is already greenlit. The man whose career was supposed to end in Colorado is now anchoring a franchise. What makes The Madison feel like more than just another project is how deeply it fits the life Russell has actually been living. A story about grief, family, and the healing power of wide-open land. He didn't need to reach for those themes. He already lives inside them. And working alongside him in another recent project, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, was his son Wyatt Russell, the two of them playing the same character across different time periods. A father and son, inhabiting a single role. You can't manufacture that kind of emotional texture. Wyatt now lives in Colorado with his own family, carrying the generational connection to the land that Kurt established decades ago against the advice of an industry that thought it knew better. Goldie Hawn, his partner of more than 40 years, is now 80. They never married, a choice that attracted endless curiosity. Russell's answer has always been clear. The relationship has endured not despite that choice, but through a daily, continuous decision to build a shared life. That's what commitment looks like when it isn't about paperwork. What Russell did wasn't dramatic. He didn't quit. He didn't burn anything down. He built a ranch in Colorado and kept saying yes to work that genuinely interested him. Two ordinary decisions, made consistently over 60 years, that produced something extraordinary. He didn't sacrifice the life for the career. He chose both. And choosing both, it turned out, was the most durable decision he could have made. When he talks about Old Snowmass now, there's no nostalgia in his voice. It's recognition. He describes wanting to be there more than his schedule allows. He describes his son raising children on the same land. The ranch that Hollywood said would end his career became the foundation that everything else was built on. And at 75, with new work still finding new audiences, the career that was supposed to be over keeps finding new rooms to walk through.